All right. Welcome back to the Ask Mama podcast where I let the internet ask my mama questions. My name is Melody Angel.
I'm Mama Stephanie.
And I'm Lamar Duran.
All right. Now we're going to get into it. This is episode 14.
Wow.
We are
All right.
still on a roll. And if you would like to support this show and, help out as we build this up, make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you give us 5 stars if you're listening on Spotify. And if you would like to ask Mama a question next Wednesday, as we have new episodes every Wednesday, you can follow us via Instagram or TikTok at Ask Mama Podcast. So we're going to get right into it with the 5 minutes of trash.
Let's do it.
And we got a piece of trash.
Oh, Lord.
I mean,
We got a piece of trash
from the
this
bottom
week.
of the barrel.
And it's not our fault that she happens to be a blonde white woman.
Lord
It's not our fault.
Jesus, no.
We didn't make her do it. We didn't make, what's her name? Asa, something. Asa Blatten. Blatant.
It ought to be blatant.
Who cares?
That would
It
fit
doesn't matter. She went viral last week, making extremely racist comments on a TikTok rant, where she said things like, "If you're black, you're not country." In response to Beyonce's new album, which is a country album, and also in response to something else, which I'll get to after this. But she said, yeah, if you're black, you're not country. And she also was making the statement, she talked about black people and saying that we weren't making money back in the day. Our great-grandparents weren't making money. We were being sold. So in reference to slavery.
For money.
For money. And so, she is a student or a nursing student at Indiana State University. The kids at school put together a protest to get the school to do something about her and what she did. They said they're opening an investigation, but have said nothing is going to happen to this girl. Then it just came out earlier today or yesterday that this all started because she went to a fraternity party where she tried to hook up with this guy who was a black guy, and he had cowboy boots and stuff. He was very Southern, right? He was very country, and he rebuffed her. He didn't want her. So she went home and did this rant, apparently.
Wow.
And that's how this whole thing started. So she was mad that this black boy who had cowboy boots on and, was real Southern like that, didn't want her. And so that's how this all started for her. So what do we think about this girl? What do we think should be done about her? Or, is it enough that she has been, they said she worked at a old folks home, and they're saying that she was fired from there, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. But what should the school do to her?
I think they ought to force her to take an African American class so she can learn the real history, and start with the banjo, which is used in country music since its inception, which is an African instrument that they brought over here from West Africa as slaves. So the banjo was one of the first things Africans made music with in the South. So I think that would make them the creators of country music. And give her an African American studies class is my recommendation. And make her take the whole class and sit through it. And then maybe make her teach it somewhere to some of her peers. And because anybody that she's just not a smart girl. And because somebody rejected you that's black, lady, get a grip of yourself. I mean, come on. I don't think it was because you were white. He probably just didn't like you like that. So that's my recommendation for her.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Lamar.
So I personally feel, because this young lady is also in school to be a nurse.
Yeah.
So you're going to be around people of all different types of nationalities. I personally think that she should not be allowed to be in the school anymore. She should be expelled, because the rant, it was so angry and it was so hate-filled. My mouth was open the whole time. Secondly, it's Indiana State University, though. So am I surprised that they're not going to do much? Not really. Also, it goes to speak, too, about what's the trend with men of color these days. And she thought that she was going to be a shoe-in. And I have heard so many times from non-black women, white women especially, saying how just desperate black men come off when they try to get in a relationship with a white woman. And it's, how dare you? Because first of all, she's already thinking of him subconsciously as something down here. I think also she fetishizes him.
Because she's a racist, so obviously it's a fetish. She don't
obviously
actually like black people. She made that perfectly clear.
Perfectly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, wait a minute. How dare you, something that's down here, something that's beneath me, reject me?
The issue is, for me, is that she already works as a nurse. I think she was this was like an ongoing education. Okay. So I feel like she should not be allowed to be a nurse. And I'm saying this because I feel like the reason why we have so many high deaths for black women in hospitals is because there are too many racist nurses and doctors that don't see us as real people. So they take our pain and throw it out the window, and they don't see us, and we end up dying in these hospitals. That's why the numbers are so horrible. So when you can actually see that there is a nurse that is full-blown racist. She's a full-blown racist, right? And she even went on to talk to somebody else and say, I feel attacked. Like, she's not apologized for what she said. She meant what she said. We need to do a better job of making sure that racist people are not allowed to be nurses and doctors, because this isn't like any other job. People's lives are on the line. And if you have a racist that doesn't value my life, taking care of me at a hospital, and my life is on the line, that is unbelievable. It cannot stand. So I believe that she should not be allowed to be a nurse anywhere ever. Pick another profession.
Any public
any
service.
place that hires her everybody need to come out and say no. Protest everywhere she ever tries to work around other human beings. Period. Because people of color are everywhere. And they're going to walk into her hospital, and good luck.
Good luck with her.
Good luck getting out. Especially after this backlash, she's going to be even more angry at black people. And now you letting her around unhealthy black people. Jesus.
She shouldn't be in any public service.
So that's all we giving her for this 5 minutes of trash. But if you want to look it up, you can. It's everywhere on TikTok, and I think it's on Instagram as well. It's definitely viral. So you can hear it from the trash horse's mouth. And so we're going to move on to the Ask Mama questions. I'm going to start us off. The first question is, how do you feel about O.J. Simpson's impact on our society, especially now that he's passed away?
Well, when his trial was going on, I was young, and I had a radio that you could hear the trial it got TV stations. So I was at work in my little cube, and I had it on every day. So when the verdict was read, everybody in the office knew I had this on. So I'm crowded around, black and white. And when that verdict was read, we were cheering, giving each other a high five, and all the white people just walked away real slow and somber. And the whole building, I worked in a really big office building, and everybody white in the elevator was somber, and black people were winking at each other, and it was unbelievable. For the first time, I got to see racism, because he was black, to me. And they didn't prove the case because of all the racism that was involved with the police, that Mark Furman guy, and all the evidence and things that came against him. You were confused. I mean, and then the glove didn't fit. It was just a mess. So to have one black man get off through all the history that had been made previously, I just thought it was ridiculous to be this angry because this man got off. But OJ was so insistent in being received back into their good graces that he kept going around them and going to restaurants and trying to get white people to like him. And I thought he was ridiculous for even doing that. But it was really an unbelievable time. I'll never forget it. And now that he's gone, they don't even want you to give condolences online. They were coming against people that were telling his family, rest in peace and my condole. I mean, this man was a human being, and he was not convicted of the murders. So, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. He can't die. He can't rest in peace. That's insane to me, and it just shows another level of the racist system that we live in.
Agreed.
Lamar?
I think that we are paying for that not guilty verdict now today. With all of the killings that we see of African American men and men of color by cops, you know what I mean? I think that they it was like, how dare someone. It's like getting a taste of your own medicine. How dare someone get off killing one of us?
Right.
As if we are just dispensable. But, of course, I think that's the way that this country's set up. There's a hierarchy, of course, unfortunately. And it, like you said, it just speaks to blatant racism.
It is.
Don Lemon made a post earlier, and he was just saying he was working in the newsroom at the time. Of course, he didn't have like his own show or anything yet, but he was working during this case. And he said it was not a murder trial. It was a trial about race. And it was the first time that white people were looking at the justice system as corrupt because they let this one black man go, so to speak, in their eyes. Now, all of a sudden, this system that black people had been saying over and over again was corrupt, and white people were pretending like it wasn't because it benefited them.
Right.
And then now you have this moment in history where they're now feeling what we are always feeling. This trial was also on the heels of Rodney King. And those of you who don't know, that was the man who was beaten almost to death by 4 or 5 white LAPD officers, and those officers were let go. Nothing happened to them. And then maybe a year or so later, the OJ trial happens. So black people had enough. And OJ was like the perfect thing to get behind because he was wealthy, He had made it. He was one of those black people that had made it. He had the wealth. He had the security. And he could fight the system.
Sure
Unlike most black people could. He could get the best lawyer, which was Johnny Cochran. He could get the best team to help Johnny Cochran. You know what I'm saying? So it was literally like having a white man be in a trial for murder because he had the benefits, the privilege
He certainly did.
of putting together a team that could actually build a defense and protect him
Right.
from a system that is corrupt. So it was like the tables had turned and white people could not handle it.
They couldn't.
And then when I also think of the history, think about all of these black people in our history that went to jail for crimes they didn't commit off the word of racist police, off the word of racist people in general.
Yeah.
The deaths, people put on death row, sentenced to death. They've killed young boys. They've killed young boys. They put in New York, the guys that went to jail when they were Central Park Five. They put them in jail for most of their lives for something they didn't do. So you got all of these things, and now you get to OJ, and now you think he did it, and he doesn't go to jail, and you're like, oh, this is
Right.
How dare y'all?
One
How
guy.
dare y'all? And this is the thing. He wasn't found guilty. I
was
don't have to
not.
feel any kind of way. I don't
Right.
have to believe he did it
I-
or believe he didn't do it. I don't have to do any of that. Under the eyes of the law, he was found innocent.
They didn't prove it.
And so that's the end of it.
Yep.
And the audacity of white privilege to take on that like they were somehow harmed by this. Like this is unbelievable. It's disgusting, yo.
It
Like
was.
get off your horse because you'd have to repay black people for the ongoing corruption against black people. Look at George Floyd. How hard we had to work to get that verdict.
And what happened
Look
to
at Breonna Taylor,
Yeah.
who still has no justice. And she was sleeping in her bed, and police came in there with a no-knock warrant on false pretenses and killed her, murdered
Killed
her
that
in
baby.
her own bed.
Yep.
And her boyfriend tried to protect her and shot out to scare who he thought was intruders away. And he was let go. He was then arrested and let go. And no charges were brought because he did nothing wrong. And please believe if that black man had, he would be in jail today.
Underneath.
Yeah.
But she has no justice. And this is 2024. So don't come to me talking about freaking OJ.
Right.
And like I said, he's passed on. And if anybody want to say rest in peace, say it.
They can
Like,
say
how
it.
dare you tell somebody that they can't go on with their life and they were found innocent of a crime?
Right. God is his final
Right.
judge.
That's
first
not
of all.
up to us.
God
I'm
will
not
do
doing
it.
all of that. I don't
So-
have to do that work. I'm
Right.
not a trial lawyer. I don't have to do any of that. It already happened.
Yeah,
You know, it's disturbing.
it is. He's
People's their reaction still, the visceral reaction.
Yes.
Like they were
It's branded.
glad he
He
was
can't
gone.
rest in
And
peace.
you don't be gleeful at anyone's death like that. That's sick.
Yeah, I think it is. Where's Sandra Bland? Where's her
Justice.
Justice. I mean,
Where's
it's
Trayvon
so
Martin's
many.
justice? Michael Brown.
Okay.
I mean, we can go on and on and on, and
There's
there's
so
still
many.
new names
Right.
coming in every day.
Right, and they only have OJ,
Oh, God.
who was
That's the
exonerated.
only one they can
They can
come
think
up with.
of, 'cause that's the
And
only
we
one.
have books
Yeah,
filled with names.
yeah, and then the names we'll never know.
Yep.
So we're gonna move on.
Yeah,
But I'll say
Awful.
rest in peace, OJ.
Rest in
Right.
peace, OJ.
You know, I mean, you know, to be clear, he was not like some great person.
Yeah.
I don't think of him that way in my mind. He did a lot of bad things. He seemed to have a lot of issue with being black, which of course I do not respect.
Right.
Yeah.
Self-loathing, hating on your own and saying I'm not black, I'm OJ. That whole
God.
mindset was disturbing
Yeah.
and disgusting.
Yeah.
He's not somebody that I respected, but I don't know what he did
Right.
and will never know what he did.
Yep.
It was not proven in court. And so
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
that's for God to decide.
Yep.
And that's how I feel about him.
God knows.
So we're going to move on to the next question. Go ahead, Lamar.
Okay, next question. Dear Mama, my wife and I have been happily married for 3 years now. My mom has fallen ill, and I think it's best for her to live with us while she undergoes various treatments. I brought this up to my wife, and I sense hesitation. What should I do?
Bring your mama home. That's it. Sensing hesitation is one thing. Knowing it, if the wife said no, your mother can't come, that's something different. She can be hesitant all she want, but if your mother is sick and you want to bring her home, bring her home. And the same with her. If her mom got sick and there was some hesitation, you bring your mother home. Take care of your mother. I'm sorry, I just would. And he would either get with the program or, you do what you got to do, sir.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take care of my mama. And I'm going to take care of his mother also, because that's just selfishness. And we are supposed to take care of our elderly. And it shouldn't be a job or something. I mean, I remember my aunt got sick. I told her, it is not possible for you to be a burden to me because I love you. So I'm going to do whatever we have to do to make sure you're okay. It's not possible to be a burden. So I think when you marry somebody, you marry their family. And if you love that person, you should love who they came through. If they're a reasonable human being. Now, there's always some exceptions. Yeah. But if that man loves his mom and wants to take care of her, you bring your mama home. And lady, he didn't say for sure. So she obviously didn't tell him, I don't want your mama coming. I don't care what you sense. You could sense wrong.
Yeah.
You could be sincerely wrong sometimes. So that's my take. Lamar?
Okay. I think that she might be hesitant. And again, I don't know, the full details. But I think that she may be hesitant because maybe she might feel that all of the work and taking care of the mother might fall on her. You never know what the dynamics between the husband and the wife are.
Right.
Do they have children? Of course, we can go on and on about different scenarios. I do think that, if your mother is ill, either you need to bring her home, take care of her, or find a facility that will be able to take care of her if you all's lifestyle does not allow for that to happen. But that's the only, in a logical thinking person's brain, that's the only thing that I would say would maybe make someone a little hesitant. Like, well, what would this mean? Because if she's finding herself as the wife doing all of the work already, and now you're adding your ill mother, she might be thinking that's another responsibility for me to take on, and I'm already spread thin.
She could just be selfish. I don't want your mama here.
Yeah, that too.
Your parents, whoever took care of you, mother, father, both, one, they took care of you at the most vulnerable time in your life when you were first born. That means to me, without hesitation, you take care of them at the next vulnerable time in your life, which is at the end of your life. So the beginning and the end, that's where you're the most vulnerable.
Right.
And so that means that the child, who's then an adult, takes care of the parents. And when you get married, there is not a doubt in my mind, if I was married and he wanted to bring his mother home, she was sick, not only would she come, but I would not care if I had to take on the brunt of taking care of her, because that usually would fall to the wife, because when someone is ill, you don't want your son cleaning you up and doing certain things. You'd rather have a woman. So let's get it all the way clear. It is going to fall on you, the wife, to take care of a lot of the things going on with the mother, just because you're both female. And it's more comfortable for her to have you come in and help her get in and out of the shower or whatever is necessary. And like Mama said, there's not a doubt in my mind. Let me just say this. Your partner does not love you if they don't love who made you. And not just who made you genetically, but who made you the man or the woman you are today.
My Lord.
Because whoever raised you every single day, day in and day out, that is the person you married. And without the mother guiding and molding that person,
He wouldn't be there.
you would not be with the man you're with. You'd be with some rotten, terrible human being that treated you horribly and it was a nightmare, right? But if you're happily married, or you think you've lucked up, and you don't have a high regard for the woman who created this person,
That's right.
then you don't love who you're with. Let's just be all the way 100. I think it couldn't possibly be. I remember guys, even from my past, when I had even relationships like that I liked, like boyfriends or whatever. I liked their moms. All the dudes that I really liked while I was dating, I liked them. I still remember their moms.
Right.
I still wish I could have a relationship with their mom. Because they were so cool. And I was like, see, this is why you cool. I could see the correlation and the connection there, right?
That's right.
And so for me, I already know. So but I do think in this situation, you got to go and make sure that the hesitation was really a hesitation. Give her the opportunity to answer the question full out. Would it be okay if my mom came here?
Right.
And leave it at that. But if she says, nah, I wouldn't be comfortable with that, then you need to take, then you got a bigger problem than just your mama. You got a problem because that girl ain't really for you. She don't love you. You might just be the ring on her finger. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people get married just to say they're married. A lot of people get married and have kids for the look, for the Instagram post, the holiday Christmas post.
Yikes.
By the tree.
Oh, Lord.
I wouldn't feel comfortable.
With the matching sweaters, right? So let's just be all the way real. There's so many fake Instagram relationships, as we know. And one way to tell
that's crazy
is how, what kind of work have you done to not only bring together you and your wife, but the family?
I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving my mom around somebody that didn't mean her way.
We part ways. We part ways. I would never do that. I would never do that.
You hurt my mama.
It's over with.
It's gonna be some repercussions and some furniture and all kind of stuff floating around. So you can't.
But
hurt
I do
my mama
think that
or my daddy.
I do think that he knows who he's married to. Usually if he's catching a vibe off of his own wife, he's usually not wrong about that. This is the person you live with. If you catching a vibe that they don't want your mama there, it's probably true. And it probably means they never had a good relationship. But that brings me back to my original point. Why?
Yeah.
Because how could you not Be cool with the woman who created the dude
person
you
that
with.
you love.
Like, how? Because they have, when your parent is in your life and like raised you from like day one on a daily basis, you have so many of the same characteristics. How you think,
You can't help
what
yourself.
you do,
Yeah.
what you like, what you don't like. Everything is connected to that parent.
It sure is.
So it just doesn't make sense that you wouldn't like that person.
Yeah.
Unless you don't really like who you with. It just don't make sense.
It-
2 and 2 is 4.
Yes.
It makes sense. What
That's
you're
it.
saying makes total sense.
That's
It
it.
just
But if you got 2 and 2
Yeah.
equal 5,
Uh-oh.
you got to
Some
go back.
off.
You better get a calculator.
because I mean your kids are an extension of you.
That's what I'm saying.
Basically.
Like,
So-
that stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know
it's
what to
so
tell you.
wild. That's some wild stuff.
I catch
It's
you doing
happening
something to my mama
every
though.
day.
It's fakery.
We gonna have some problems.
And people think that they're not seen.
Yeah.
People think that they're not
No.
seen. So because what people do in them situations, they make up reasons not to like certain people.
Yeah.
They'll just manifest reasons why
Well,
they don't
yeah.
like certain people. Just make it up as they go along because they have just decided they just don't.
And that's to each
They
his
ain't
own.
get-
I mean,
but it's allowed. You know, so if this is happening in your relationship, know that you also are at fault because you're allowing your partner to not build a relationship with your parent.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that that's okay. So you have to nip these things in the bud if they're important to you. But you know, we got a lot of ungrateful kids out here.
Absolutely.
So
and we want to say reasonable people because there's always some exceptions. It may be somebody.
of course the
that's
parent
a
might
horrible
be
human being.
Yeah.
You know.
It's always an exception, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about reasonable.
But no,
and
but
I know
we're talking about if your son or your daughter is married to somebody and they're a good person, that means the parent is a good person. That doesn't come out of nowhere. If the
Yeah,
parent was
usually.
in the kid's life
Yeah.
and raised them every single day from morning to sundown, not on the weekends,
Right.
Uh-oh.
but Monday through Sunday, 365 days a year, their whole life,
They did something. You're right.
then they are a good person too.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. If you think who you're married to is a good person and a good provider and a good parent, that's because of who raised them.
True.
If you think that a person is a horrible person and blah, 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 that's because of who didn't raise them.
Well,
Dog.
That's
but,
it.
Yeah.
And I dare you try to say something else makes sense. Because it don't.
Yeah.
This stuff don't just, unless you're a psychopath who was born without empathy and you turned out to be a serial
Right.
killer,
Right.
then that
Lord.
had nothing to do with parenting.
God.
That was a mental, something chemically happened when you
sure
were
will.
born.
Don't-
And that's a whole different.
Don't blame
you
it
know,
on me.
That's you know that's
They done
that's
killed
totally different.
Uh-uh.
But in regular circumstance, you're not married to
Got nothing to
somebody.
do with it.
In regular circumstance, you're not married to somebody that is a good person without them being raised by a good person.
Right.
Period.
Somebody had to be
Now
good.
let's move on. Next question is, my boyfriend and I consummated our relationship recently, and now he seems distant. It feels weird now with him. Do you think he's not interested anymore?
Oh. Praise the Lord. That's real sad that he don't seem interested after that. Listen, you may need to ask him, is everything okay? But if it don't fit, don't force it. Because if he's not interested, then, pay attention to the signs. If you guys just consummated, he should be interested if everything went well. If it didn't and it's not a mesh, which is, hey, different strokes for different folks. That's a thing. You may need to find someone else and just ask him if he's not interested in you or if he is. And if he's not, you go ahead and count up your loss and time heals all wounds and you'll be okay. But you shouldn't have to be wondering at this early stage if he's interested, because, I mean, if he is, you'll know it. And if he's not, you'll know it. So pay attention to the signs. That's my suggestion on that.
Okay. Me personally, in my opinion, I think that, well, first of all, I preference that with love bombing is real, right? People do this, especially nowadays. And I think sometimes with people who are, have, whatever they got going on, they enjoy the chase. And then once they get what they want, it's like, okay, I'm over it. I'm done. I got what I wanted now.
Wow.
So the excitement is over. The game is, I won. That's how I kind of, and that's what it sounds like to me, kind of. Yeah. It sounds icky like that to me.
Yeah. Just the thing about today is, in today's era, the fakeness that is going on out here is at an all-time high. Because, I mean, people will literally pretend to be somebody else.
Yep.
Entirely. Just to win you over. They will watch you, observe, and figure out what you want. And then they put that mask on, step to you, and will be there for weeks, for months, however long. And then ghost you.
Yep.
That's where we at right now. So
awful.
when you give them what they wanted all along, which is usually sex, that's when all of a sudden they don't answer your texts. They cancel dates last minute. They, they've got an excuse why they're late, but they're always late. They don't value your time anymore. They stay out with their friends most of the week. You're no longer making plans to go places together, weekend trips, all kind of little things just start building up. And you know what's happening, but you try to convince yourself that, nah, I mean, but he did now you start thinking of everything he did before. But you don't want to feel like the fool.
Right.
That fell for it, but you're not a fool. He lied.
He's a manipulator.
You're supposed to go into relationships with an open look. It's supposed to be a blank canvas. You're supposed to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's how you're supposed to enter into a new relationship. So you did nothing wrong. If you were your authentic self and that person was not, you are not a fool.
No.
They are a fool. Because they're wasting their lives pretending to be whoever just so they can have sex with somebody. It's an empty life. And so you need to look at them. That's what more women, in my opinion, need to do. They need to look at the men that have done them wrong in the right way. You're not the problem. They were the problem. It's not your fault. You didn't bring them into your life. They came in. And they lied. They pretended.
Right.
It's not on you.
That's right.
When you find out, just be grateful you found out.
That's right.
And move on.
Move on.
And believe that somebody better is out there. Because that's the thing. When you start thinking that all dudes are like this or all women are like this, that's when you allow them to win. Because it's meant to make you believe that there's no one out there for you when things like this happen. It's meant to like break you internally, to make you feel like, man, ain't nobody out here. Because I felt that way. You put so much into relationships, you hope for the best. Like, I want a healthy relationship. I just want a healthy relationship with somebody I can trust and build a life with.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder than I ever thought it would be.
It's crazy.
And I have felt like a failure in that when it didn't work out. And I internalized it. Like, why couldn't I see it?
Yeah.
Why didn't I see that he was lying, that he was pretending to be this guy? It's not on me.
Nope.
I
No.
came in as my authentic self.
Right.
And that's what I discovered. That's the work I did on myself. Is I discovered that I was doing that and I need to stop. This is not on me.
Right.
I'm going to keep putting my best foot forward, and I'm going to keep trying to believe that there's a good dude out there that I'm going to find, or he going to find me, however it goes down, right? So that's just what I believe. We can't get defeated. You know what's going on. I'm speaking to her right now. You know.
She know.
Oh yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and it's, it can even be devastating depending on, how you feel about this guy or how you feel. But understand, it's how you feel about a person that doesn't really exist.
Right.
Yes.
He's not real. So those feelings aren't real because he doesn't really exist. And
fake.
that's what you have to put in your head. That's how you'll be
Yeah.
able to walk away.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But you exist. So put all that back in yourself and give yourself time, because time, you will get over it.
That's
Time heals wounds like this. Move on, sweetheart. And that's okay. You be real, like you said. Continue to be authentic, and you will meet your match. I believe that.
All right. We're going to move on to the next question, Lamar.
All right, next question. My supervisor has been harassing me to have relations, touching me, and I'm very uncomfortable. He's the owner, no one to tell, and I'm a single parent. What should I do?
You should get in touch with EEOC and put in a formal complaint against this guy. You won't have to worry about losing your job. They will investigate, and you will be okay. He won't be able to fire you or
What is
any
the
of that.
EEOC for people who don't know what you're talking about? I mean, what do they do?
They take care of workmen's complaints, and every city has it. It's a number. Just look it up. EEOC. Call that number. Put in a formal complaint. It's free. You don't have to pay for this. And it's nothing he will be able to do to you. Like, sometimes even going to HR in a company where a person owns it, they're even afraid to retaliate. But this company or firm is not. So that is what I would do. That's what I suggest. And he won't be able to touch you anymore. And your job will be secure. And you may have a case to be able to sue him for that. Because I know how hard it is being a single parent. You take a lot of things that you normally, if you didn't have kids, you wouldn't take. You take it in relationships and you take it on jobs. So I know that pressure, but you can be relieved from that. And that's what I do.
Yeah. I would just say, stay strong. It does make me nervous about contacting EEOC and then still, working there. That kind of makes me a little uneasy. But I mean, you have your kids and you have to do what you have to do. But I would say definitely follow all proper protocol.
Calling EEOC, he would not be able to fire her.
I know,
his hands would be tied, and if they find he's guilty in what he doing this to her, she'll have a case. She can sue him and get money, and then leisurely find her another job.
Okay, so I think that doing that is fine. However, the level of violence going on against women these days, this could easily escalate into SA.
Right.
And so you're going back into work. You got to let all of that. That's a lot. That's paperwork. That's an investigation. That's stuff that has to play itself out. You got to go into work tomorrow with a dude that's touching you and coming up on you and harassing you on a daily basis. And that can easily turn into SA. So what I'm saying is do the EEOC. But if this man comes up on you and makes you uncomfortable again, call 911. Like, go, because if you have to go into work because you're a single mother, then you also have to protect yourself against this man and his violence, because the longer you don't give him what he wants, the violence can arise. It just gets worse and worse. It doesn't get better. I've been harassed on the job, and I went to my boss and I said, hey, this man is harassing me every day. But he was a wealthy client. So they kept bringing me in saying, we've told him to stay away from you and this, that, and the third. I had to go through all of this stuff. I ended up leaving that job because I just couldn't take the harassment anymore, right? Sometimes you got to do the hard thing. Start looking for another job, have 911 on speed dial, do the EEOC thing. Like, you have to attack this from every angle and make sure you're protected, because the violence out here is real. They could kill you out here because they don't get what they want. They're doing it every day.
Yeah, they are.
And you need to be here for your kids. So think about that. Sometimes you got to go to the extreme to stay on this earth because ain't nobody looking out for you.
And that's well, thank you all for articulating it, because that's why it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like that
It
idea.
makes you uncomfortable, but it's legal, and it would guarantee her some financial stability. Even if she do leave, file that EEOC case against this man to stop him from doing it to the next girl. See, then he'll learn.
With 911 on speed dial.
You can do either one. You can do all three.
Somebody
all these
attack
things.
you at your job, you need to call somebody
And-
now,
and
in
of
that
course,
moment.
you know, with other people around, don't be alone with this man. I wouldn't. I mean, I've gone through this on jobs too, but you gotta, you gotta use this, and we get out of a lot as women, cause we got to. You learn to finagle and get out of different things.
You gotta stay quick on your feet.
You gotta use your head and your gut, and God will take care of you, but don't let him off the hook.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next segment. This segment is called "What's Going On." What's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on?
Hey, okay, all right. In this segment, it's more of a political discussion, and this week it was important to discuss this since we have Mama here, who I feel like for me is somebody that I can go to. Anything Christianity related, anything church related, anything in that realm, the Bible and understanding it. I've never seen anybody more equipped to explain the Bible or anything on that religious front than my mom. So when this story came up, I thought it was important that we talk about it, because I want to make sure that we're making a distinction between Christianity and these Christian nationalists that are out here. And when I say Christian nationalists, I'm talking about the January 6th type crowd. I'm talking about the Roe v. Wade type crowd. I'm talking about the banning of book type crowd. These people who are calling themselves Christian nationalists, it's just the new word for white supremacy. It's the new word for the KKK, for the racists, whatever you want to call it. But it's white Christians who are saying that somehow it is their job to make everything back like how it was. Right. and so they're out here and they literally focus on politics in society to get their agenda across. And that's why they're, in the South, they're invading these schools and getting rid of teachers that are trying to teach the truth. They're getting rid of books that have the truth in it about our history as a whole. That includes Black history, because Black history is American history. The country was built on our backs, literally.
Yes.
And then you got Roe v. Wade. That it's all connected. It's all connected, and I want to specifically talk about where do these people get their audacity to even call themselves Christians? And I'm including these evangelicals. They're in this group too. They're Christian nationalists too, because they literally hate Black people. Everything that they do and talk about, they hate Black people and they hate the gays.
Honey.
And that's just period, the end.
Yep.
And if you happen to be both,
oh Lord,
look out.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, they're not Christians. Do you agree?
Well, they get their audacity from simply misinterpretation of the Bible. And going back to the KKK, they started it, misinterpreting the Bible and burning crosses and wearing white and as purity. I mean, there's the audacity to think God didn't make us. He only made white people. When it's proven that the first human being on earth was Black, which means we all derive from that. And God so loved the world, so being the emphasis, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And he did not say just white people.
He said, love thy neighbor. He didn't say love thy neighbor that's white.
No.
He said love. That includes everyone.
And
everyone.
If you take that scripture right there, love thy neighbor as thyself. Do you know, if we lived by that, white nationalists, all the laws would be realized in the Bible.
Yeah.
If we love our neighbor as ourselves, do you know that you would do no harm? There would be no harm done with just that scripture alone.
Yep.
So they're delusional and full of hatred.
I just resent them using
The Bible.
Christianity.
Yeah.
They have been using Christianity since the beginning of time.
Right.
And here's the thing I wanted to mention. Just like terrorists in the Muslim world
Yes.
Yeah.
uses the Quran,
Yes.
that is a peaceful book, just like the Bible.
It is.
They twist that
Yeah.
in order to do things like September 11th.
That's
Right.
right.
And white Christians, evangelicals, nationalists, whatever you want to call them, they
Same
are doing
thing.
that too, and they have the audacity to do it, and then but hate the terrorist Muslims
For doing
that
the same
do
thing.
it.
And it's the same.
And then wait a minute, and the whole Gaza situation.
Right.
You coming after Hamas for doing what you're doing here. You're all terrorists.
They're all and it's
January
all
6th, those were terrorists jumping around the Capitol building trying to kill government officials, trying to kill the freaking vice president.
Yes.
And these fools went home.
Yes.
It's all derived
They're
from
all
the same
terrorists.
place.
That's what I'm saying. And they
Yes.
have the audacity to think that they can speak against these other terrorists who are doing the same things, using religion for their own ills,
Well-
for their own sick, perverted way of thinking.
Didn't the slave masters do it?
Yeah,
Didn't
they
they
all
have the
did. They've been doing
audacity?
it.
Yeah, they did.
They've been doing it since the beginning.
Yes.
They did it, and they're
Since
you
the
know
beginning.
the country was built upon that.
Yes.
It's in the laws.
It's the
in
foundation.
it is,
And now they're in government, which they're not
Yeah.
supposed to be. See what the separation of church and state.
that's right.
So even using the Bible to tell other people how to live, like I'm a Christian, but I'm not about to force somebody to believe what I believe. That's not my job. That's not my place.
Right.
It's not supposed to be involved in government.
No.
The laws of the land are separate from the laws of the Bible.
It is.
I follow the Bible because I'm a Christian, because I believe. I'm not forcing anybody else to do that. But the laws of the land, that's supposed to be for everybody, no matter what you religiously believe or if you don't believe in religion at all.
But isn't that in the Bible?
It
to follow
is.
the laws of the
It
land?
is.
Yes.
You render unto Caesar, which is the system,
Right.
unto Caesar. And unto God, it's separate. That's why they had separation of church and state.
And this is a
But they're
democracy.
bringing it, which is so confusing. Why are you bringing? But the nationalists, they definitely intermingle Christianity with politics. That's what white nationalists do.
Yes.
So it is all against the word.
And I think that like you said, this is a democracy, right?
Yeah.
But your average American citizen does not treat it like it's a democracy.
Yeah.
It's a democracy only for who they decide can
Can
have
have
it.
it, right.
Because like I was listening to somebody else online talk about this in correlation to the police. Like with black people. We have the Second Amendment, which says that we have a right to bear arms.
Right.
But when black people bear arms, they
Uh-oh.
get killed most of the time for bearing arms.
Right.
Right? For having a gun. For you even thinking they have a gun, which they are allowed to have, they can still be shot and killed for that
That's
because
right.
they're not really allowed to have it
Right.
in the eyes of the police, in the
right.
eyes of other white people who fear for their lives.
Right.
Every time they see a black, they can say this cell phone. I almost got killed in my own apartment by a group of police who thought this phone was a gun.
Wow.
Right? And I called them to protect me from gunfire that I heard in my building.
Right.
And they almost took me out. You get what I'm saying? So it's like the laws are there, the democracy is there. But even going back to OJ, when we talking about the trial and everything,
That's right.
all of these laws are there, but they're only used for white people, for the success of white people. And that's why we all have this problem with systemic racism, because
Right.
the foundation of this system
That's
was
right.
to propel white society,
That's right.
not anyone else.
But it can't strive like this
Right.
forever. Mental illness. I've said this so many episodes. Racism being the biggest mental health crisis that we have in this country.
Yeah.
And now we're giving we're giving these people this platform because they've infiltrated the government to spread this mental illness across the globe.
It is.
And I agree, that of course mental health has something to do with this, but really it's just a power play. These people know the power in their privilege.
Yeah.
It's
Of
to
course.
me, it's more about that than anything else. being able to control what happens in society is the ultimate power, and they're not willing to give it up.
They're not.
To the whole of society when they can just keep it for themselves, because it benefits not only them but their legacy, their
Right.
kids and their kids' kids. The generational wealth of white people is superior to none.
Well,
And that's what they're fighting for. That's what they're holding on to. It's power.
Yeah,
And they're not
it is.
giving it up without a fight. And
Well-
that's what black people need to understand. That's why we have to be organized, and we have to be together and united on this front, because they are not going to give up their privileges. That's just not going to happen. We have to take it. We have to take it and spread it around to everybody.
Right,
because they're not going to just say, they're not going to wake up one day and be like, all right, we're going to make it fair for you guys too, so you can
Right.
live like us. That's never going to happen. We have to bend them to our will and use the power that we have, which is numbers. People of color outnumber white people in the world.
oh, definitely. It's not even a comparison.
And so that is the difference. But we're not taking, we don't have our unity together. And that's been the struggle. And it's a part of oppression. It's not like a mystery. There's a reason why it's hard for us to get together, because every time we try to, they kill our leaders.
Yeah. But, we've got to, another thing the Bible says is, a house divided will not stand. And we're not trying to usurp authority over white people or be the privileged ones. We simply want fairness, a fair opportunity.
There should be
That's
no
it.
privilege. That's the point.
Nobody should have
If
privilege.
it's spread out equally,
right.
then that is what is called equality.
That's what it is.
Which is what we're supposed
Equity.
to have.
And we're not trying to be superior. We're trying to destroy
But
superiority.
that is what the media
Yeah.
and what these racist politicians and what
That's
these
right.
nationalists, that's what they push to
We're
all
not.
of these white people in society. They're trying to take your stuff away so they
Right.
can put you down, so they
We're
can
not.
be, they trying to push you down, make you the minority
No.
and treat you terrible so that they can be amplified. They're trying to exchange
That's right.
places. We're
See-
not trying to exchange anything. We're trying to get rid of privilege.
right. And have fairness. And they're invoking fear.
That's right.
And there is no fear in God. We don't want that. We want equality, equity. That is it. That is all.
So now we're going to move on to a segment that I call the Black-Owned Spotlight. And it's right on time because we believe in the economic growth of the black community, and the only way to ensure that for generations to come, to build generational wealth within the black community, is to support black-owned businesses. So every episode we want to spotlight black-owned businesses so you can venture out or go online to support them. I'm going to start us off with a black-owned business. It's called Jolie Noor. I hope I'm saying that right. I'll put it on the screen. But jolienoor.com, it's a clothing brand built up and owned by black people. And it's really cool clothes. This is the kind of stuff I like. It's casual luxury.
Oh.
It's comfy and stylish loungewear, like jumpsuits and sweaters and, real cool stuff that you
look
get,
at that.
real casual looks. I love the casual look, and I love the softness of the material that they use. So you
All
can
right.
check them out at jolienoor.com, and I'll put it up on the screen. And yeah, just make sure you venture out. There's a lot of black-owned clothing brands. So
Nice.
instead of going out here and getting Gucci and Armani and all of this stuff, that's going right back to them. Why don't you go and see all of these amazing black fashion designers making incredible
That's
clothes?
nice. Wow.
Just check them out.
All right.
So,
Mama?
My black-owned business this week is the DuSable Black History Museum,
All right.
which they have some beautiful things. You know, we take for granted we have so many wonderful museums in Chicago. But a weekend, go ahead and go down there and look it over at 740 East 56th Place, DuSable Museum.
all right. All right, so my black-owned business is Harvest 365 Restaurant and Grill at 7610 Roosevelt Road. It's Suite 120. And I am going to preface this with saying that I normally do not do buffets. But this one, I was like, whoa, pleasantly surprised and had a wonderful experience.
Oh,
All
nice.
right,
Okay.
Nice. Okay, now, y'all, we're going to move on to the last segment, which is recommendations.
All right.
And we're going to start off with either a TV show or movie. I'll start us off. I'm actually going to recommend that you watch on Netflix. They just posted it. 30 for 30, the O.J. Simpson story.
My God.
And it goes through, I was telling Mama, this is how I actually learned about the trial because I didn't really know what was going on when it went on. So, it goes through the full trial, of course. That's like the second half, but the first half, it goes through his whole life from like when he started in the projects to when he became a football phenom in high school and then college and then the pros. Because like I didn't even know, I was telling Mama, I didn't even know OJ as a football player.
Me
When
either.
I saw him, he was in
good.
Naked Gun in that movie. Naked Gun. It was like a
Funny movie,
comedy.
too.
And I was like, and he was just the only black dude in the movie.
So dumb.
And so that's what I knew him from. And come to find out he had this whole football career and
Yes,
everything. I
he
had
did.
no idea.
Me either. The
Yes,
first
he
time I
did.
saw him, he was rolling around in that Bronco. And then,
Oh,
and
wow.
then the helicopter was following him.
Yeah,
Oh,
see,
wow.
yeah, I had seen Naked Gun. So that was like the only reason I knew who they were talking about. I didn't even know. I don't even think I knew his name for real.
Really?
I knew his face
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I had seen that movie.
Right.
And then when the Bronco thing happened, I was like, is that the dude from Naked Gun?
He was from
Anyway,
Naked Gun, sure.
but it is an amazing documentary.
Wow, I'm gonna
If you
look at
want to know what went down, they have all the news coverage from back then. They have everything.
Oh,
When he
I
won the
saw it all.
Heisman Trophy,
Yes.
with, his mama, his friends growing up,
Yep.
when he met his wife and his first wife and then the other one and the whole thing and how
Yeah.
crazy his whole life was. It's unbelievable. And then when they get to that trial, you just like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw every bit of it.
So yeah, it's like living through it. It's like going back in time. It's
That's
really
deep.
great
I'm gonna watch
documentary.
that though.
Oh, I can't wait.
So
Yeah, I'ma
yeah,
watch it.
anybody curious about what everybody's talking about right now because of his passing, check that out on Netflix.
Yes, sir.
Mama, what you got?
I've got The Two Killings of Sam Cooke. Netflix.
Oh, wow.
It was. I love Sam Cooke.
I don't think I can watch that.
Bless his sweet soul. He was smart. He wanted to own. I mean, he really went through a lot. Check it out. Netflix.
All right.
heart.
Lamar.
My recommendation is also on Netflix. It is called Marcella. And it is a series. It is quite good and quite
I
interesting.
think I've seen that thumbnail.
Check it out. Because I had seen it and I was like, eh. And then I said, well, let me just see. And I
Okay.
was like, oh,
All right.
pleasantly surprised.
Wow.
Okay. Cool. Okay, let's do books.
Okay.
So for me, for a book, I have, I decided this is for anybody young watching the podcast. The first book that I read that really got me into books, like, because I love to read, I was that kid. Was a book called The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I remember reading that book and just falling in. It was the first time that I ever fell into a story and I could see them. And I was like in there with them. I was following along. The glory of that, like of literally falling into a book that first time and just kind of losing yourself in it. And then you get to the end and like, oh my God, I cried at the end and I was a little kid and I was like, this is unbelievable. So it sparked that. Yeah. And so if anybody has a young child that's reading now, get them The Outsiders because it's one of those coming of age stories that young kids can relate to. It's about a group of boys, but still it's like really, really good. S.E. Hinton, and the author has a lot of young adult books, not just The Outsiders, and I actually have read all of everything. But that book specifically, Pony Boy. Oh.
I remember all of these books you're naming. I read them.
I'm telling you,
I want to revisit because
you should.
I knew you were
got
gonna
my
say.
copy. I still got my old little
Paperback.
Yep. But so it's a very good book to start a kid off. If you really want to get them like into books, this will do it. This will do it.
Nice.
So that's my recommendation. Mama, what you got?
My book is called The Healing Wisdom of Africa. Very interesting book. Has all kind of different healing things in it and just beautiful from the motherland. The author is Melodoma Patrice Somé. Beautifully written book. All kind of informative information.
Awesome. All right. My book is The Black Butterfly by Lawrence T. Brown. And this book really focuses on Baltimore, Maryland, but also cities like, of course, this one here, talking about redlining, ultra segregation, and its effects on people in the communities, but also gives solutions as what we can do to lift ourselves out of those oppressive systems that oppress us still to this day. Great book. Check it out. Really, really well done.
All right. Let's do music. Nice. Mama, why don't you start us off?
I'm going to go with a duet by James Ingram and Patty Austin. How do you keep the music playing? How do you make it last? It's one of the most beautiful duets I have ever heard in my life. It literally brings me to tears. Even if I hear it back to back, I still well up because it is so sweet.
Oh, they love each other.
Oh, my God.
It is.
My God.
James Ingram and Patty Austin. He's passed away, but he's underrated to me. Such a beautiful voice.
Yeah. All right, Lamar, what you got?
All right. I have He Has Done Marvelous Things by New Birth Total Praise.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yes.
He has done marvelous. He has marvelous. He has marvelous things.
Hallelujah.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, check out the New Birth Total Praise version.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, this week for me, I have I'm gonna take it back. This is one of P. Diddy. He did this dude wrong as well. He did everybody wrong, but
he did.
Carl Thomas.
Ooh,
his emotional album.
Oh my God.
I'm emotional.
Yes.
And I can't let go.
Ooh-wee.
But I'm trying to hold to you. I mean,
That's a jam.
Dog.
That's
seem
a
to
jam.
hurt me purposely. I mean,
It's a
Ooh,
I
jam.
didn't
That's a jam.
understand it.
Yes.
Oh, girl, why me? I mean,
Wow.
he did that album.
He did.
He did that album.
Yes, he did.
I mean, it's so
Every
much
song
on-
is good
Every
on
song
that.
is a jam. It's like the perfect R&B album
Oh,
to me.
bless that
Is Summer
man's
Rain
heart.
on that one?
Summer
Yes,
Rain.
it is.
You better know Summer Rain.
Summer Rain
My
is.
Valentine.
Oh. That boy did that album.
He
And
did.
how it starts. Yeah. Well done. All them strings. Yeah.
Oh.
Woo.
Carl.
It's I'm telling
The
you.
bomb.
He should have had a long
He
career.
really
Should
should
have.
have.
That man
and he's
ought to
out
be
here
his
doing
voice.
shows. You know, he was doing some smaller shows, and I think he's getting in on this whole. You know, they going back and doing a lot of R&B, like tours and stuff. And I hope he's a part of that.
I
but
do.
but he
was so
only
good.
really had that one album. I think he's put out other projects, but not on the scale that. Because he was on Bad Boy, it was everywhere when he first came
Every
out.
song was good.
It was
Every
so
song.
good. He had like 2, 3, 4 singles that
So
was
he
just
got
jams.
a lot of songs he could do.
But it's just unfortunate. I always think of him whenever I'm like in an R&B mood. He's the first thing I think. If I want to listen to a guy singing,
yeah, that
it's-
little boy
has
sang.
that album
Beautiful
is
voice.
it's
Yes, it
unbelievable.
is.
So check that out. The album is called Emotional.
And that's Carl
And
Thomas.
Carl Thomas.
Not
yeah.
to be confused with the Lewis.
Mama,
that
I
did
don't know
the-
what you're talking about. Once
My
again, nobody was confused about Carl Thomas. And then you talking about not to be confused with Carl Lewis.
Because you know when he did the anthem.
Mama,
I'm sorry.
we were not even here
You
for
wasn't
that. I
talking
saw
about
that
Carl
on
Lewis.
YouTube.
But y'all got to look that up one
He's
day.
a track star from back in the 80s.
Ooh, he told the
and he did the anthem up. He
Really?
did the anthem
Not
at
in
a
a good way.
basketball game.
Oh no.
And he can't sing.
He got to
I
that
saw
hard
it on
part.
YouTube.
He got to that hard part and said,
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
And
hysterical.
still tried to blurt it out. It's a terrible. It's on YouTube. Still.
Yeah, let's
I would
look at it
love
after.
it.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Right. So once again, we've given you some great recommendations. So give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you want to ask Mama a question next Wednesday, as we have new episodes every Wednesday, like I said previously, please DM us on TikTok or Instagram at Ask Mama Podcast. You can also leave a comment under our YouTube video and ask your question right there. And if you would like to just listen to the audio, we are up on Spotify under Ask Mama Podcast. So we've had another great episode. I enjoyed talking with
Nice.
you all, as I always do.
Bless y'all's
And we
hearts.
look forward to seeing y'all next Wednesday. Stay safe out there. We love y'all. Peace.
God bless you.
Peace.